Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Will County Board meeting for April 16th, 2023. I will call this meeting to order. Madam Mueller, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This morning, instead of an invocation, I'll just lead everyone in a self-reflective moment of silence. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Balich. Here. Trainier. Dean Schlattman. Here. Van Dyne.
Present.
Pretzel.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Newquist.
Here.
Richmond.
Here.
Parker. Here. Williams. Here. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan.
Here.
Freeman.
Present.
Revis.
Present.
Mitchell.
Here.
Ortiz.
Here.
Berkowitz.
Here.
Mueller.
Here.
Costa.
Here.
Ogella.
Here.
18 present.
With the 18 members present, we have a quorum. I need a motion to place on file the certificate of publication. Motion by Mueller. Seconded by Costa. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Balich. Dean Schlattman.
Yes.
Van Dyne.
Yes.
Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Newquist.
Yes.
Richmond.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Logan.
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Revis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Ortiz.
Yes.
Berkowitz.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Costa. Ogalla.
Yes.
18 affirmative, the motion carries. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the February 16th, 2023 board meeting.
Motion, Dean Schlattman.
Motion by Dean Schlattman, seconded by Mitchell. Previous roll call by Van Dyne, seconded by Logan. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, will you please acknowledge elected officials and media present today?
Today we have County Executive Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant, County Clerk Lawrence Daly Ferry, Coroner Lori Summers, Auditor Duffy Blackburn, and Treasurer Tim Brophy. And there's no media present, I don't think.
We do not have any proclamations today. Do we have any public comments for today's agenda items? If you have a comment regarding today's agenda items, you can please come up now. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. All resolutions and ordinances from the February 16th, 2023 board meeting have been signed and returned. Moving on to new business, we have two items. Today we are welcoming Plainfield High School P-STEP transition students transportation presentation.
Hello, my name is Kathy Thompson. I am the vocational coordinator at P-STEP and JJC. Thank you for allowing us to come and speak at the Will County Board meeting. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our travel training experiences. Our students are from the Plainfield School District Transition Program, P-STEP. P-STEP stands for Post-Secondary Transition and Education Program. We are housed at Joliet Junior College. Our goal is community employment for our students. We work on skills for success at work. Our curriculum includes travel training, which is learning how to use PACE, obtaining a Ventra card or app. We learn how to read the schedule so our students can get to work and to social activities. Most of our students do not drive, so public transportation is very important to them. The cost for a bus for our students is $70.50 per trip, plus $2.72 per mile. Our buses cost millions each year. We have the opportunity to save money for our district by using only public transportation for trips during the day from JJC. Fortunately for us, there is a bus stop right out our door at JJC. Now we'll hear from 5 of our students and their experiences with public transportation.
My name is William Maciejewski. This is my 3rd year at P-STEP. I live in the southern part of Plainfield, and I hope to get a job at Walmart as a stocker. Although you might think I attended this meeting by taking a yellow school bus, I actually took the 501 PACE bus from JJC to downtown Joliet. I like using public transportation because I don't have a driver's license, and public transportation helps me to be more independent.
All right. Hello. My name is Brendan Keating, and this is my 2nd year in the P-STEP program, which stands for Post-Secondary Transition Education Program. If I ever get a job at Walmart in Shorewood, I would push the carts around the store. This is how we ride the PACE bus, by telling the driver we're Plainfield students, and we show them our school IDs and Ventra cards. This is the Ventra card we use in order to get the pay for the bus, folks. So during my time in the P-STEP program, I have learned to ride the PACE bus, and we pull the yellow cord when we want to stop the bus. Folks, watch out. You all don't want to miss your stop, or you might be lost or stranded. I think this is a good skill for us because most of us do not have our driver's license. If there were more PACE buses around my area in general, then I would use the Ventra card to ride the bus and watch for my step. I hope this speech was very helpful for you today. And now we'll hear from our 3rd student who will talk about the Ventra app.
Hello, my name is Ryan, and I am a P-STEP student at JJC. This is my 2nd year in P-STEP, and I will be talking about the Ventra application. The Ventra app allows riders to add and replenish their funds. Users can also monitor their spending. The Ventra app also shows riders the routes for the PACE buses and at what time the buses will arrive at each stop. I think the Ventra app is a great tool to use because I feel really confident about taking the PACE bus, as I used it 3 times a week in the fall to attend a JJC class in downtown Joliet and volunteered at St. Joe's Hospital twice a week. I consider myself to be a travel train expert. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kayla Scartozzi, and this is my 2nd year at P-STEP. I would like to work in a child care center. During my free time, I love being social with all of my friends, that I like to hang out with them. And if my family isn't available to take my friends and I anywhere, we would like to go. We can use public transportation. However, there are not a lot of PACE buses by my house. I live in Joliet in the Old Renwick Trail subdivision. If there were more accessible PACE stops by my house, I could use my travel training skills and take the PACE bus to do what I do best, which is be a social butterfly with my friends and family.
Hello, my name is Aiden Lopez. I'm in the P-STEP program. This is my 1st year in the P-STEP program. I work at Drew Osco in Shorewood, Illinois. My parents take me to my job. The current 501 route is not a direct route from JJC to Drew. In the future, I would like to use Dial-Ride to get to work independently. If there were more Dial-Ride buses in Will County, this would be possible. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Bernal, and I'm one of the PSTEP teachers. For the last 6 years, our team has been working with Beth Gonzalez, our PACE representative, to learn the ins and outs of the PACE bus so we can better serve our students by teaching them travel training skills. We currently have 41 students in our program. We have 32% of those students who are employed within our community. Keep in mind the state average for individuals with disabilities who obtain and maintain employment is only 19%. So we are very proud of our students. I do want to point out that out of all the students currently enrolled in our program, only 2 of the students have driver's license. The reality is, because of our students' diverse disabilities, obtaining a driver's license may not happen. That's why we feel teaching travel training skills is such an important part of our curriculum. A barrier many of our students do face is the lack of public transportation that is easily accessible. My hope is that there will be an increase in PACE buses, dial-a-ride services, and paratransit buses that can better serve our students and make them more active within our community. Thank you all for your time.
Oh, there we go. That goes on. Thank you very much for being here and sharing. I'd like to add Jackie Trenier and Janet Diaz to the roll. Moving on, we have the state's attorney's opinion regarding the legality of the former courthouse reuse, and I believe Mr. Mock is going to be presenting.
Morning. The first thing that the board needs to realize is we do not own the property where the courthouse is located. We own this building, we own out on Laraway Road, but the property where the courthouse is located, we only hold in trust. It was originally platted as public ground. In 1963, a lawsuit was filed to determine what governmental entity should be in charge of that. In a lot of places, the municipality where public ground is located is in control of it. The court back then in 1963 in the Howard Lloyd case brought in the county, the city, 200 property owners that had butted the courthouse property. It was a contested type hearing, and at the end, the circuit court in Will County said that yes, it is public ground. Since the 1898 courthouse was there, that they thought it was more appropriate for the County of Will to be the trustee over that property. So the first thing the board needs to realize is you're merely a trustee over that property. You don't own it. You do not have the ability to do what you want to do with it. It has to be held for public use. And the Lloyd case went somewhat even farther. Say we wanted to transfer that property from the trusteeship of the county and give it to the city of Joliet, and because they had a municipal use for it. And any governmental use is considered a public use. If Joliet Junior College wanted to put a school there, that would be a public use. It could happen. Other public uses that could be considered as basically any use where the public has access and use of the property. A lot of public uses are determined by the state legislature. There was a case from the 1800s where the Rock Island Railroad wanted to run some tracks through that square because before they were elevated where they're located now, they crisscrossed all over downtown Joliet, multiple railroads. And at that point in time, they wanted to run a track through the back of it, and they were able to do so only because the state legislature had already determined a railroad is a public use. So if you wanted to put an apartment complex there, you would need the state legislature to say, that's a public use. They haven't made any determination that I'm aware of that said that's a public use. It'd be nice to be able to do whatever we want to do with it, but we're constrained by the law. It's no different than it'd be nice to drive 100 miles an hour on the interstates, but you're constrained by the law. The fact that you're a governmental body is no different than any other entity. There is questions based on previous case statements regarding these types of properties that if even the legislature may not be able to take it out from the public use because it's held as trust. And you got to realize something. Even though all this was done under the last Constitution, not this Constitution, University of Northwestern is still tax-free. It still has a lot of independent powers, even though our 1970 Constitution says government can say what other units of government and entities can do, because the courts have interpreted it. When that was created under the old Constitution in the 1870s, when that was created, it was given certain powers, and those powers continue with it even though there's a new Constitution. Public trust on property works the same way. So even the legislature may be constrained as to what they want to do with it. If you chose to maintain the building and just have it sit there, you could do that. That's your choice. You know, if you want to expend the funds to maintain that building so it's pretty to look at, you can do it. Because you could say viewing it's a public use, but you'd have to allow the public to actually somehow use it. The trouble you get to is if you want to have a third-party independent, if I wanted to open a shopping mall in there, you couldn't do that. It's not a public use, even though it's open to the public, because it would be used for the benefit of whoever was making the profits off of that. Prior law used to, even for courthouses themselves, we used to have prior statutes that limited what you could do with it because it was a public building. They've now evolved and they took out these uses. But 30 years ago, it specifically said you could have a shoe shine shop in a courthouse because there was a state statute that said that was a public use. Basically, you are limited to have other units of government take it over, and they'd have to do the public use instead of you if you wanted to try to get out from under it. However, under the Lloyd case, you would have to go to court. The judge, who would ever be assigned to it, which lately it's been the chief judge, because I've dealt with this case 2 times in the last 30 years, where between using the parking lot, which was part of the original public square, and dealing with the city of Joliet street transfer, we had to go to court and get permission for all those things because it was part of the original public square. And the public square was not just the courthouse, it was also the parking lot to the east, not the entire parking lot, but about half of what's there was another court public use parcel. There was parcel 1 and parcel 2. Parcel 2, where the parking lot is now, had the old jail and the sheriff's quarters on it. Parcel 1 is where the courthouse is right now. So basically, I wanted to point out to you that it would be nice if you owned it outright. It's possible the legislature could pass a law that said all these properties in the whole state that are held in trust are now owned in fee simple and you can do what you want with it. But even then, if somebody challenged it in court, the court cases that I've read basically say they can't do that, that even the legislature can't take it away from public use, because when it was originally set up in public use with a trustee over it, which was determined to be the County of Will, that's where you're stuck with it. Now, maybe the current courts would rule different, but that's historically, and as late as 1988, that's what courts have ruled on different public squares and public held properties in trust, usually by municipalities, not by a county, have these limitations on them. I hope this helps you in your determination what you want to do with it. If you tear it down, an open lot is a public use. Open space is a public use. But if you wanted to build something new on it, you would have to make sure it was for the benefit of the public. If you wanted to build a new county building, that would be for the benefit of the public. If you wanted to use that space to build a parking deck, that would be for the benefit of the public. They could park there. But you are limited to basically governmental uses or other uses that the state legislature have determined to be public uses. Not just public purposes, but public uses. And so that's basically where we are. If anybody had any specific questions on it, I'm more than happy to deal with you either individually or here. But that is the research, and like I said, this is not the first time I've dealt with this issue. I've dealt with it over 30 years because of the issues of transference of ownership. Even when it was in the name of the PBC, it had to be approved. And then it came back to us, and that was approved because it is for trust property, not fee simple property, not like this building. Unfortunately, it's a weird quirk in the law, and we have to deal with it because until the legislatures change the law and until a court says that that law is constitutional, that's what we're stuck with.
So we do have some questions. So I
Sure.
understand there is a committee that's been scheduled for 11:30 today. So I'm going to, so we're going to do a board meeting and get out of here by 11:30 for a committee. So I'm going to allow everyone to at least ask one question because we do have people who want to ask questions. But if you have follow-up, I'm going to ask that you please follow up with the state's attorney. So we'll start with County Board Member Trenier.
Yes, thank you, Phil. I really appreciate your in-depth answer. I really appreciate the fact that you said maybe, because we don't know. I've had 2 state senators talk to me about changing the designation at the courthouse. The former state senator, John Connor, and now his replacement, Senator Ventura. I just appreciate the fact that you said maybe rather than it's an absolute, because we have, as you mentioned, the Constitution. Some of these laws, some of these rules, when they were written, the world has changed tremendously, even since 1988. So thank you. That's it.
County Board Member Parker.
Can you just repeat how the land was obtained?
When they platted downtown Joliet into grids, whoever did the first subdivision of the old town of Juliet, when they wanted to sell property, made a public square. They right on their plat map, put a box in it, said public ground. It didn't say courthouse ground, because if it would have said courthouse ground, we would have been restricted to just a courthouse. It didn't say park property, or we would have been restricted to just a park. They said public ground, and that was done maybe like in the 1830s. And we built a courthouse on it in 1898. We had, like I said, the jail used to be located there, the sheriff's residence, because part of the sheriff's salary used to be he had a place to live. They were all located there. And when we wanted to build the new courthouse, it was determined, do we have an idea if this is even authorized? Can we build it? Who really owns this property? And that's why the lawsuit was filed. That's why the city of Joliet was brought in, because usually these public squares are owned by the municipality. If you've ever been down to LaSalle, they got a big square park that's owned by the public across the street from the appellate court kitty corner. That's a public ground too. It was platted originally just saying public ground. It didn't say County of Will, it said public ground. And that's the problem we have. And how they dealt with that is they said the unit of government is a trustee over it. No different than if you have a trust and your duty as trustee is not you can do whatever you want, you do it for the benefit of the recipient of the trust. We have to do what's good for the benefit of the recipient of all the citizens of the county, and that's that one.
County Board Member Butler.
Thank you. For the description of public purpose, would a civic center or a housing for veterans fall under that category?
It may, only if the legislature declared that that's a public purpose. Because again, going back to the railroad case, if the legislature said something's a public purpose, a public use, then you could do that. But you would have to specifically find something in the statute that would authorize that.
So a civic center for the people is not yet defined as a public purpose.
Oh, I don't understand what you mean by a civic center for the people. Like,
I
are
mean,
you talking?
isn't a civic center for the people?
No. Are you talking like in Chicago? There's a civic center that holds
for
the courthouses.
Joliet, like you had a building for the people.
You mean just to hang out in? I mean, is it a
whatever.
museum? Is it
It could
court
be-
related?
It could be a museum, yeah.
A museum may be a public purpose. Possibly, it could be. Because it's
or
open to the
housing
public
for-
and to
or
benefit
for
all.
veterans.
What?
Or housing for veterans.
The trouble you get with housing for veterans, in the cases that I have here, and I'll give you the one citation. Not that you need the citation, but I wanted to give you it's supposed to be for all the people is how you determine the public use. And if it's housing, it's only for those 100 people that live there. It's not for all the people. A civic center, all the people could walk in and walk around. That is one of the differences between public use and private use. Because it's not just the purpose, it also has to have a public use, which is the ability of the public to use it. That's how the railroads are okay. Anybody could buy a railroad ticket back then and drive on the railroad.
You're all set there?
A
Mr.
hotel may be a public purpose because anybody could rent a room there, possibly. But apartments isn't so much public, it's private.
But it is a government, like if it was a government agency that provided housing for the military, veterans.
That would be a public purpose, but in order to be a public use, it has to be able to be used by all of the public. That's the difference. When you hold it in trust, it has to be also a public use, not just a public purpose.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
County Board Member Newquist?
So what I'm kind of hearing you say, and I just want to make sure I understand it, let's just say that we decided to go ahead with the developer and build a hotel on it, to partner and build a hotel on the site. So one of two things are probably going to happen. We're either going to have a group challenge that, and then the courts would determine if indeed a hotel was a public use or not, or the legislature would have to specifically designate a hotel as a public use.
If the legislature said a hotel was a public use, you'd probably be okay. But you got to realize this too. You have two hurdles. Not only do you have to convince the legislature, you have to convince the circuit court. Because under the Lloyd case, the circuit court also contains supervisory authority over the trustee, which is the county. And that case is still valid law now. They can maintain continuing jurisdiction over this property. That's why even though the case was filed in '63, it originally ended, I think, '66 before we started building the old, what we call now the old courthouse. But we've had to go to the court to get permission to do other things in the past. And I don't know if you could get the legislature to say it's a public purpose, but if they did, they can make a determination, yes.
So we're going to end up in court if we do anything other than a traditional governmental use, most likely.
Oh, most likely.
Okay, thank you.
County Board Member Berkowitz?
Thank you, Congressman. So you made a couple statements that we took away a public square or public ground.
I think you said in 1898 by putting in a parking lot, right?
That happened much later.
Oh, okay, but at some point in time it happened. So we have a building there and we have a parking lot instead of the public square. So, and you also stated that any government use is a public use. For example, this building, I would assume land use as well would be public use, and some of the other properties that we currently rent and don't own. So I don't quite understand the hesitation with considering the option of redeveloping the existing building for new and upgraded and state-of-the-art county offices. And the county executive has stated that she's had some conversation with Joliet officials about, I assume, demolishing or redeveloping that parcel after demolition. And the conversation that we are trying to have is that there's an interest to avoid demolition and use that existing building for public use, which would be new county offices. So I'm just wondering why there's that hesitation to have that conversation.
That I can't answer. If new county offices were there and you chose to expend whatever funds it took to upgrade it to make it usable, that would be a public use because it's government and people have access to it. That's a policy decision. I don't care about the policy decisions. I'm trying to give you your legal parameters of things that are doable and not doable.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, because that's exactly, that was the answer I was hoping to hear. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to go on a record that I've said we've had unofficial conversations with Joliet, so these are just kind of side conversations about their interest, yeah. That's fine, it's fine. No, I want to go, I don't want to speak on behalf of Joliet.
Until you start drafting intergovernmental agreements, it's not really.
I'm not sure what you're referencing, but for this purpose, for regarding the, Okay, I'm sorry. County Board Member Freeman.
Thank you. You keep saying legislature. Is that the House, the Senate, or both?
Both. And it'd have to be signed by the governor. It'd have to be a state law authorizing something.
What kind of vote? 2 3/5, simple majority?
Should be a simple majority.
Okay. Thank you.
County Board Member Ogalla.
So, Phil, just to clarify, if the state legislature decided to take this up as a cause and it passed the houses and such, so would it be specific? Could they make it specific to this property only, or would it be for all? I mean, to me, if you set a precedent, then any lands that have been platted or deeded in trust to be used for a public purpose would be at risk of having another purpose put there with a new type of public, so-called public use.
It depends on what. I don't know if they could do anything that would particularly set out our property. They could, but then somebody could constitutionally challenge it under equal protection. Why did Will County get this right and not another county? But if it was made available, or if there was a process created by statute that allowed other public grounds, because almost every county has a public square somewhere, the small ones. And other ones have platted public grounds that were platted for whatever reason. I mean, not long ago, we have subdivisions where they plat grounds for school purposes, and it specifically says school purpose. They're stuck with school purposes unless they get a change on that one as well. And again, I want to give you a caveat. I'm not sure if the legislature said all public ground property or all property held in trust for the benefit of the public no longer held that way and are held in fee simple. I don't know if the courts would approve that. Again, people have attacked Northwestern's special status because it's not authorized by statute anymore. And they said no, but when the state chartered it, it was authorized, so they could continue to do that. And it could be the same thing. You're inviting a lawsuit. If you want to try it, you could try it, or the legislature could try it, but you're going to get a suit over it because there could be somebody out there that just, on behalf of a taxpayer or any interested party, that says, no, this is wrong. It was platted for this purpose, in perpetuity, and the legislature can't change that. In fact, one of the cases, although it was under the old Constitution, it was from 1955, specifically said that not even the legislature can authorize a municipality to alienate its interest. Dealing with these type of properties, although it was a municipality that was the trustee then, not a county, but it works the same way.
So I have another question then. So there are several interested in taking this property, renovating it, and using it for something, say, like a hotel, which currently is not deemed a public use. It'd be a long time, and we'd be on the hook for maintaining that courthouse as it is for a long time. How would they gain the building? I assume that the county owns the building. We don't necessarily own the land. So how would that particular group be able to get that building?
If in order to transfer the building, you'd have to declare it surplus. It would be treated like any other surplus property. Something like that, since there's no adjoining property owners that are interested in, you would probably offer at auction. And off the top of my head, I believe that would be the process for it. But again, you'd be giving them a bill of sale, not a deed, because you're only selling the building. There's also potential rental things that could occur. And again, that's all well and good, but you still got to get to circuit court to approve it too, because we're not just dealing with the legislature here. You also have that 1963 court case where the circuit court maintains jurisdiction over any approved use for this public grounds.
And then also, if that building was declared surplus and sold at auction, would the county still be liable for anything that would happen on that property?
It could be, everybody will sue every entity. We got deep pockets.
It's true.
Saying whether somebody'd win or not's another story, but if there was a slip and fall or something, they could eventually go after us as being the ultimate owner of it. I mean, it's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, just because here's the question now. Would we be in the hotel business then, or would we be able to have the opportunity to send it to could we sell that property as long as it's a hotel and the definition is changed? Or now are we becoming hotel owners?
You'd probably be the hotel owners, because I don't think you could sell the property again because of the 63 case. That court determined that it can't be diffused of your interest. It has to be held by the government, basically. That's why I said City of Joliet schools could get it, and they could build a school there that's a public use. The courts would probably approve that, then we'd be out from under it. Or you could give it to the city, they could do stuff with it, we'd be out from under it. But until it gets transferred to another entity that would have to be a governmental entity, and it would have to fall within the court's belief that it was still a public use, we're always going to be with it. Because we hold it as a trustee. We don't own it. We don't own it. It's all the citizens of the county that own it. We're just managing it on their behalf. And that's the problem you have, and that's why they brought in over 200 neighboring property owners and people from downtown Joliet in the case in 63, because they all thought, well, they may want to have an interest in it as part of the public.
Member Balich.
From what you're saying, it would be, we couldn't do a public-private partnership like a lot of people are talking about?
I'm thinking
yeah.
no, but... No, under the current statutes, I don't see how we could. And again, we could for this building real easy. We own it. How do you eliminate the general public's ownership of the property? The citizens that walk down the streets' ownership of the property, because we only hold it in trust. That's who really owns it. And it would be difficult. I can't see it happening as that kind of deal. And again, you got to have the courts to approve it. It's not just convincing the legislature.
Looks like you're all done there, sir.
Thank you very
much. We appreciate your time. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
one last question. Would something like a shelter for folks who struggle with homelessness be considered a public use? Or would we have,
It would
that
be-
would put us in the business of doing that.
It would
wouldn't
be
then?
probably considered a public purpose,
Uh-huh.
but not necessarily a public use, because all
Right.
the public can't use it.
Right.
That's the difference.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, trustee property's got to be both.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please add Natalie Coleman to the rolls. All right. We are going to move on to land use and development. Chairman Pretzel.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing for all land use cases.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Mueller. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlotman. Van Dyne. Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
21 affirmative. We are now in open public hearing. Please be advised, absolutely no new evidence or information will be allowed once this land use public hearing is closed. Do we have any comment from the public today? If you do, you can just, actually, we have a couple people here. You can actually come up and speak on any of the hearings. I have Nate Washburn, are you just here for, okay. Anna Carmen? Just here for record? Okay. It doesn't. Jeremy Mead, just for record, parents only. Molly, I can't, same thing, record. And Amy, are you just here for, all right, okay, questions. All right, very good.
Then I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Freeman. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlotman. Van Dyne. Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
21 affirmative. The public hearing is now closed. Chairman Pretzel.
Okay, the first item is zoning case ZC 22050, Bankston Land Management LLC, owner of record. This is in Green Garden Township, 11332 West Drail Road, Monique County Board District Number 3. The first request is for a special use permit for rural events. Planning Zoning Committee, Commission and Land Use approved unanimously with 7 conditions, and I so move.
Second. Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Ogala. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Their second request is for a special use permit for ancillary liquor services in conjunction with allowed agritourism uses.
A motion.
PZ
Hold on.
Go ahead. No, that's okay. It was approved unanimously with 2 conditions. And I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Revis, seconded by Mitchell. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2, ZC 22066, Prail Farms Partnerships, owner of record. This is in Peatone Township for vacant property on West Kennedy Road, Peatone, County Board District Number 2. They are requesting a special use permit for a solar farm. PZC approved 6-0 with 16 conditions. Land use amended that and approved 6-1 with 15 conditions. We've removed the last condition, and I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Trenier. Previous roll call by Dean Schlotman, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 3, ZC 22079, Charles L. Mead and Diana C. Mead, owner of record. This is in Wilton Township, 14755 Doyle Road and vacant Doyle Road, Manhattan, County Board District Number 2. They are requesting a zoning map amendment from A1 to R2. PZC and land use approved unanimously, and I so move.
Second, Berkowitz.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Trenier, seconded by Diaz. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 4, ZC 22081, Skyline Memorial Park, Inc., SCI Illinois Services, LLC, owner of record. This is in Monee Township, 24800 South Governor's Highway in Monee, County Board District Number 3. They are requesting a zoning map amendment from A1 to C2 for 5.37 acres. PZC and land use approved unanimously, and I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Ogala. Previous roll call by Richmond, seconded by Revis. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 5, ZC 22095, Garrett C. Harris Trust. This is in Manhattan Township, vacant property on South Schoolhouse Road, Manhattan, County Board District Number 2. They are requesting a zoning map amendment from A2 to A1. PZC and land use approved unanimously, and I so move.
Second, Berkowitz.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Freeman, seconded by Dean Schlottman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 123-69, request for a refund of fees for zoning case ZC 22074. Mr. Tim Winter requesting a refund for special use permit for a truck terminal. Land use voted 7-0 to approve the request, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by Trenier, seconded by Mueller. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 23-70, zoning text amendments to the county's solar and wind zoning restrictions. Land use voted 7-0 to approve the amendments, and I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
I just wanted to make a comment to everybody that the reason these map amendments were made was due to the legislation that got passed during lame duck for solar and wind farms. And there's a trailer bill in both the House and the Senate to correct some of the issues, to give local siting back to the counties. I know that the Farm Bureau, Illinois Farm Bureau, and the Illinois Association of Drainage Districts have been working with the original sponsors, and they said when they found out, they didn't realize it was not their intent to do what the bill actually ended up doing. So I believe that those trailer bills will pass, and local siting will get back into our area, except a couple things possibly, but we'll have to do another ordinance change if those trailer bills get passed. I just wanted to let you guys know that, so that's all.
You didn't see me raise my hand. I was a no vote.
Okay, I am sorry. So on, so that Steve is, okay. Thank you, sorry, Steve.
Don't worry.
Chairman Pretzel.
Last, 23-71, repeal of text amendment 20-478. This item has to go back to PZC for a public hearing, so it will be brought back at a later date. I move to remove this from the agenda.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Ogala. Previous roll call by Mueller, seconded by Freeman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my portion of this. The next Land Use and Development Committee meeting is scheduled for April 11th at 10:30 a.m.
I apologize. Steve, do you want to be a yes on that last one? Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Chair Richmond, Finance.
Good morning, Madam Chair. So first up I have is the report to be placed on file, a report from Illinois Department of Revenue showing sales tax remitted to Will County for the month of December 2022 to be $2,677,051.10. The RTA tax received is $3,075,812.69. Those combined for $5,752,863.79. And I so move.
Second, Revis.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Revis. Previous roll call by Newquist, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I Second item up is creating new continuum of care fund 2714 and fiscal year 2023 budget, and I so move.
Second,
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Revis. Seconded by Logan. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And third one up today is the appropriations of funds from the National Association of County and City Health Officials Medical Reserve Corps RISE grant into the Will County Health Department budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Revis. Seconded by Logan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The fourth item up is the appropriation of funds from the Illinois Department of Human Services Suicide Prevention First Responders Grant into the Will County Health Department budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Dean Schlotman. Previous roll call by Revis. Seconded by Costa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the fifth item up today is the appropriations of ARPA funds in Sunny Hill Nursing Home budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by O'Gall, seconded by Trinier. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the sixth item is the increased appropriations in the Laraway Communications Center budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Revis, seconded by Ortiz. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the seventh item we're going to move forward. It's in regards to the transfer appropriations within various county budgets, fiscal year 22 budgets, on advice of the state's attorney's office, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Newquist, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The eighth item up today is the transfer appropriations within the various county fiscal year 23 budgets, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Revis. Previous roll call. Trinier, seconded by O'Gala. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the ninth and final item is the authorization county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent tax programs, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Costa, seconded by Berkowitz. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and lastly is our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for April 4th, 2023 at 11 a.m.
Thank you. Chair Van Dyne, Public Works and Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and good morning to you and to everyone present this morning. We have 9 items to consider, starting with number 1, Resolution 23-80, confirming award of contract to Northern Contracting, $258,092.37 for the countywide guardrail maintenance in all the county board districts, and I so move.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Costa. Previous roll call by Freeman. Second by Diaz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-81, resolution for improvements by county under the Illinois Highway Code for the countywide guardrail maintenance for various county highways in all the county board districts using our MFT funds, $300,000, and I'll make that motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Freeman. Second by Logan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-82, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for construction engineering services for the third phase for the reconstruction and widening of Laraway Road, County Highway 74, County Board District 2, and I will make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Logan. Seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-83, authorizing an agreement between the County of Will and Northern Illinois Gas Company for the reimbursement for relocating facilities for the improvements of West River Road, County Highway 26 from Coal City Road to Illinois Route 53 in County Board District Number 1, and I would like to make that motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlotman. Previous roll call by Mueller, seconded by Costa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-84, authorizing an agreement between the County of Will and BP Central Pipeline for reimbursement for relocating facilities for the improvements of 143rd Street, County Highway 37, from Lamont to Bell Road, County Highway 16, County Board District 4, and I'll make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Costa. Previous roll call by Diaz, seconded by, who was it, Freeman? Sorry, all in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
23-85, authorizing an IGA between County of Will and Chi-Cap Pipeline Company for the reimbursement for relocating facilities for improvements of 143rd Street. County Board District 4, and I so move.
Seconded by, motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by Ballard, seconded by Berkowitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-86, authorizing an IGA between the Village of Manhattan and the County of Will for placement of license plate reading cameras located on our county highways in the County of Will, and I so move.
Second, Freeman.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by Ogala, seconded by Richmond. Oh, sorry, okay. Any other oppositions to this? Just Mitchell? Jean, all right. We have one, okay, so we're gonna have, you got it? All right. Motion carries. Oh, well, wait. Are you fine?
Yeah, you know what? I don't like it.
Okay, so we have two noes. Two noes.
I
The
don't
mo,
like the government intruding on my life.
I know. So the motion still, with two opposition, motion carries. Yep.
Thank you. Resolution 23-87, authorizing an IGA for Phase 2 and 3 engineering services and construction for land acquisition for McEvely Road, County Highway 32, multi-use trail extension, County Board District 1, and I will make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by Logan, seconded by Richmond. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, Resolution 23-88, amending Will County Code of Ordinances.
Hold on, sorry. We had two, County Board Mitchell, County Board Ballard. Would you like to be yes on those? Thank you. I'm sorry. Please continue.
All right. Lastly, Resolution 23-88, amending Will County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 73, no parking areas and parking schedules in Will County, Illinois, all the county board districts, and I so move.
Second, Freeman.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Dean Schlottman, seconded by Logan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled for April 4th, 2023 at 9 a.m., and that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Health and Safety Committee, Chair Freeman.
Good morning, everyone. We had a wonderful meeting. The warrant officer from the Sheriff's Department came and spoke. We also had our other monthly updates from the Sunny Hill Nursing Home, the Will County Health Department, Dr. Burke. I would advise all of you to look at the attachments on the agenda. There's some excellent statistics in there and a lot of information. We also had the Will County Senior Services come, and so again, it's attached. Please read. We'll be bringing forward two this morning. First is 2389, renewing contracts for housekeeping supplies for Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and I so move.
Motion by Freeman, seconded by Ogala. Previous roll call by Trenier, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the next we have 23-90, renewing contracts for dietary and nursing products for Sunny Hill Nursing Home.
Motion by Freeman, seconded by Van Dyne. Previous roll call by Ogala, seconded by Trenier.
And our next public health.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Always forget that part. Our next Public Health and Public Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for April 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. and hope to see lots of smiling faces.
Thank you. Everything's okay. We're all good. I will tell you, there's a Motorola cell phone found in the parking lot. They'll be at the security desk, all right? Very good. Like, uh-oh. Legislative Committee, Chair Berkowitz.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have one resolution this morning, Resolution 29-91, authorizing the county executive to execute lobbying service agreement with Brent Hassert Consulting LLC, and I so move.
Motion by Berkowitz, seconded by Revis. Previous roll call by Mitchell, seconded by Diaz. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Chair Mueller, Capital Improvements.
Good morning, team. Yep, it's still morning. This month, we don't have any resolutions to bring forward. Our meeting, we did have quite a bit of reports on the RNG facility, the morgue project, and general facilities updates. We also had an update on the Carpel system, so I encourage you to read over those reports on that agenda. If you have any questions, reach out and let me know. Otherwise, our next meeting will be April 4th at 10 a.m. right here in this building. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Executive, Chair O'Gala.
Well, that was the fastest ever.
This is really fast. Hey, start scheduling more meetings at 11:30. Then we'll get.
Well, that's either immediately following or 11:30.
Okay.
So we're not under pressure.
Oh, okay. I was excited.
Vince
Well,
understands
we like
that
it.
his meeting could start much later than that, depending on, this is an unusual situation, so get through with it, right, Mike? Okay. I'm going to make a motion to open public hearing regarding the Will County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 110, alcoholic beverages for a decrease in Class B.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Mueller. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Balich.
No, I would.
Say yes.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Dean Schlattman.
Yes.
Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. O'Gala.
Yes.
21 affirmative.
Thank you. We are now in public hearing. Please be advised, absolutely no new evidence or information will be allowed once this public hearing is closed. Do we have any comments from the public regarding this issue? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Trinier, seconded by O'Gala. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Dean Schlattman.
Yes.
Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. O'Gala.
Yes.
21.
Public hearing is now closed. Chair O'Gala.
Thank you. We have 6 resolutions to hear today. The first resolution is 23-92, amending the Liquor Control Ordinance, Chapter 110, Code of Ordinances to decrease in Class B. And I so move.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Dean Schlattman. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Richmond. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next resolution is 23-93, authorizing payment to IDNR for farm lease field restoration due to the RNG pipeline construction, and I so move.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Richmond, seconded by Logan. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 23-94, proposing a substantial amendment to the 2021 Annual Action Plan for the Home ARP Allocation Plan, and I so move.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Richmond, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have Resolution 23-95, increasing compensation for election judges beginning with the April 4th, 2023 consolidated election and all future elections. I so move.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Freeman, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have Resolution 23-96, appropriating ARPA funds to compensate certain staff at Sunny Hill Nursing Home for extraordinary hours worked during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I so move.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Richmond, seconded by Logan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 23-97, authorizing renewal of wraparound professional liability insurance for the Will County Community Health Center, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call? Newquist, seconded by Berkowitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next Executive Committee meeting is scheduled for April 6, 2023 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. There are no appointments, so we are going to move on to public comment relevant to matters under the jurisdiction of the county. So if you have some public comment, please come here.
Smiling again.
Just a reminder, these are limited to 3 minutes. Sorry. There you go, sir.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm Hudson Hollister. As I've met most of you, co-chair of the Courthouse Preservation Partnership. I'll speak for less than 3 minutes, and I understand that Quinn Adamowski of Landmarks, Illinois, will be describing, after I go, he'll be describing the responses that we have received from our request for expressions of interest. We appreciate the opportunity to engage with the county government on legal options related to the old courthouse site. Our counsel from Neal and Leroy will be meeting with Assistant State's Attorney Mock tomorrow, and we'll be producing a full summary of those options, which of course we'll share with all of you. But in the meantime, I only have 2 points. First, one option that Mr. Mock did not consider was whether the state legislature can simply amend the 1834 plat so that the public ground for public use is moved 1 block to the west. In 1834, nobody expected that the courthouse would one day be positioned on a different block nearly 200 years later. Last night, Senator Ventura sent a letter to all of you offering to work on exactly that option, swapping the old courthouse block for the new courthouse block so that the 2020 building is protected and the county has additional options for the 1969 building. Second, Mr. Mock's opinion does explain how the state legislature could define public use and could expand the definition regarding this property to include additional options. Some of those options might be a civic center, like Mr. Butler mentioned. Some of those options might include a county office building. Several of the proposals that you have in front of you would provide opportunities for government office buildings and some ancillary uses to move into the site. You all right there, Mr. Revis? Okay. We look forward to the opportunity to bring further details for you all on the legal options related to this site, but the other presentation of public comment is going to relate to the proposals that have been made in response to the request for expressions of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please add Denise Winfrey to the roll. No, he wasn't asking that. He just asked if he can make a motion, but what are you asking for, sir? Hold on.
Because there's a lot of information here, and I don't think 3 minutes is justified.
County Board Member Vince Logan made a motion to extend the time limit. Do you have a time limit?
Just suspend it for right now.
Just suspend it for
Yeah.
today? Is that what we can do?
Just for this guy.
Yeah. Yep. Is there a second? Second. Okay, seconded by Butler. Can we just do a previous roll call with this? Yeah. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. No. Trainier. Yes. Dean Schlottman.
Yes.
Van Dyne. Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Coleman. Logan.
Yes.
Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala. Winfrey, sorry, I'm Winfrey. No, got it. Three negative. 19.
19 members in the affirmative. The motion carries.
Direction on what that means for my time limit?
You have none.
I have none.
It's all yours.
That's not a good thing. Yeah, you don't want me to have no time limit. So I'll do my best to limit my time. My name is Quinn Adamowski. I'm the Regional Advocacy Manager for Landmarks Illinois. We've been working with the Courthouse Preservation Group for the better part of a year now. I also happen to live in Joliet, which makes this a unique advocacy project for me because it's, you know, on the one hand, I do this for work. On the other hand, I do this for my hometown. I will get into the RFEI responses in a moment, but there's a couple things I just want to say in advance. It seems to me that there's been two hurdles for pursuing preservation. One has been the legal side of things, and the other has been the thinking that no one would be interested in redeveloping. I would argue, based on what we're about to go through, that one hurdle has now been overcome, in as much as there is interest in redeveloping the building. And based on what I heard today, I still think there's a lot of confusion, a lot of maybes, a lot of could-bes, a lot of might-bes as it relates to the legal side of this. And I just want to highlight two other things regarding the legal portion of this. There's a ComEd substation. It's a public utility. They make a profit by providing a public service. Was that challenged when the ComEd substation was put in? Do we know that? And if not, why not? The second thing is, Mr. Mock mentioned courthouse, public trust, public lands. The old McHenry Courthouse is currently owned by the city of Woodstock. They've entered into an LLC with a bank and an architectural firm, and they are going to be leasing that out for private business. I don't know the particulars of that plat of land, but he did reference public lands, public courthouses, so I think that should probably be investigated. The other one is Effingham County. Effingham County Courthouse is currently a museum. Again, I don't know the particulars, but we do know then, theoretically, that museums should be considered a public use. Okay, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Back to this. Everybody should have a copy of the RFEI responses. I'm not going to read through this entire letter. I feel like you guys can do that on your own. But just as a reminder, this was issued by Landmarks Illinois in partnership with the CPP due to the fact that we kept hearing over and over again that there would be no interest in redeveloping and that the county was insistent on not issuing an RFP or an RFI. So we took it upon ourselves to do it, to work with the development community and architects, at least in the Chicagoland region, to see what their level of interest would be. And so we received 6 responses, and I will read them. Alexander Company is based in Madison. They are a regional development firm. They've done some huge projects, and I would encourage you to go to landmarks.org at the conclusion of this or sometime today to look through all of their credentials and all their project summaries that they provided as evidence of their ability to approach this project and redevelop it. The second is Gorman and Company. Gorman and Company, again, this is a national organization. They have an office based in Rockford. Gorman is doing a lot of work in Rockford. Right now, There are buildings in Rockford that are in much worse condition than most that have been redeveloped that are being invested in, hundreds of millions of dollars. So conditions of the buildings sometimes don't matter. And as it relates to the condition of this courthouse, I would just caution everybody and remind everybody, the old Joliet prison has been abandoned for about 20 years. Those buildings still stand. Carmelite Church has been abandoned for decades. It still stands. There are buildings in the immediate surrounding area. The steel mill, decades, still standing. That county courthouse, scientifically, is still getting stronger each day because concrete continues to cure. It is a fortress. It is going nowhere, and demolition of it now is a choice, right? So that's part of the whole idea is, like, let's have the conversation and let's go through this. JLK Architects, they're actually working with the Rialto right now. As we all know, the Rialto got some state money and some grant money, and they're doing some reconditioning, and they're looking at improving the amenities for the public. So JLK is here right now today, and they actually reached out to me directly and said, hey, we look at that building each day, and we definitely have interest in exploring reuse options. Klein & Hoffman is currently working in Joliet with the Joliet Area Historical Museum, as they are an engineering firm, and they are the ones drawing up the specs to do some repair work at the old Joliet prison. Metropolitan Properties of Chicago, they had a couple redevelopment projects in Chicago. They have been working with the CPP for the better part of a year, exploring different ideas and providing and encouraging ideas as it relates to reaching out to other developers. Studio GWA is based in Rockford. They have done some wonderful redevelopment work. They're also, as I mentioned before, part of the LLC with McHenry County Courthouse. Studio GWA and Gorman have both been here in Joliet on a couple of occasions due to my organization having a couple events here, one being a pub crawl and the other one being the Heart Bomb. So they do have some familiarity with the courthouse, obviously from an exterior point of view and from the drawings point of view. And they see a lot of promise for that building. They see a lot of promise for downtown Joliet if that building was redeveloped. So what did they come back with? Residential, that's an easy one, right? And so if you read through the letters that they provided, you'll see that there's discussion around affordable housing, which, let's just be honest, we need more affordable housing, mixed income housing, and market rate apartments. Currently, we have 11 market rate apartments in downtown Joliet. We're the third largest city and the sixth largest state. I feel like there might be a market for market rate apartments. And again, office building was recommended by a few firms. Hotel was recommended by a few firms. Educational institution, even Mr. Mock referred to that. Arts and entertainment, theater, arts center, they're multi-use for the arts. And then cultural. Could it be a museum? Could it be an archive? There's all these different ideas. So there may be other ideas that could be explored, but I feel that the ones that were expressed here are the most likely, the ones that are the most realistic. And I want to highlight the ones that Gorman did. So Gorman went above and beyond anything we thought they would do, and they provided 3 real proposals. Obviously, without pro formas, no one's going to ask a staff member to spend 30 or 40 hours to develop a pro forma financial, but they did provide some basic ideas and some basic understanding of what costs could be. They also went through and developed floor plans for each of their 3 proposals. So they proposed office space, they proposed mixed income housing, and they proposed a hotel. All of those renderings, all of those floor plans can be found at landmarks.org. The reason why I did not provide that to you today, it is a 187-page document that we put together based on the responses we received, and I just didn't feel it warranted $2,000 in copies to provide you guys, since we have the internet. So I would encourage you to look at those floor plans. The renderings that Gorman provided are part of this packet. They're right after this letter. As you can see, there are different ways to soften the structure. There are different ways to raise the level of the plaza to make the building more inviting. There are ways to address what the windows look like now and repurpose that space into either community space, private space, or usable workspace. Point is that there are options for reuse. And we do have firms, national firms, regional firms, firms that collectively have done award-winning projects and have done some of the most impossible buildings, seemingly, in the state. And I would encourage each of you just to think through this one more time. Demolition or pursuing demolition is a choice. This building does not have to go anywhere because it is going nowhere right now. And based on the conversation last week and based on conversation this week, it seems to me that there just is not a complete set of information for this board to consider what the best options are. And I would also say that unless my math is wrong, in 2019 there were 26 board members. There are now 22, and 11 of the 22 are new, which means that half of this current board did not weigh in on that decision. I think that needs to be considered. We also had a different county executive. We also had a different chief of staff. We also had a different speaker. Things were different 4 years ago. Things are different, right? I mean, then we had the pandemic and all these other things that have taken place. And you don't know what the demo cost is. I still think it's going to be in the range of $4 to $6 million. So I would just suggest press the pause button, gather more information as it relates to the legal side of things. It sounds to me like there is some avenues. I would encourage this body to start considering about issuing an RFI or an RFP for development options. Because again, if a county building, if a museum are considered public use, and those are the proposals that come back, why not investigate them? Why not explore them? And I want to be very clear, my organization has never taken the position that the county of Will can't eventually do what they think is the best thing to do with that building and or that property. Our position has always been, before you proceed with demolition, make sure that that is the right process for this property or for that building. Have all the information, make an informed decision, and give half of this body who was not here in 2019 an opportunity to weigh in with all the information in place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're not having questions at this time, Stu. Yeah. Just regarding the time, sir. Yeah. You're going to have the ability to make a comment. You are, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Trust me, I'm dying too here, but we can't do it. Yeah, you're going to have time to make your comment. We'll give you time during your minute, and we'll let you have as much time as you want. Yeah. Excuse me, guys. Hey, listen, we have a format. We're following your rules. You'll have your time. You'll be able to have your time to speak, okay? This is not, thank you. You all have time at the end to speak, all right? Okay, we don't have to do it because there's only relative to that, too. We are going to move on to common board members now, so please press your buttons if you're interested in speaking. Steve, you do it at the leadership time. I am going to ask Mary Tatro to address issue regarding airport from a caucus meeting. There has been some confusion and some misinformation regarding the Piatone Airport, so I'm going to have Mary Tatro address that. You're on.
Okay, so some questions came up at the Republican caucus regarding the control.
It doesn't move, it's so hard.
I know it doesn't move. So is this better if I lean forward? Okay, I'll try to lean forward. So some questions were raised at the Republican caucus regarding the control of the South Suburban Airport, otherwise known as the Piatone Airport. And there was questions about whether or not the control of the airport would be under municipalities located within Cook County. So I've looked into that a little bit. The legislation that currently is passed puts the airport under the control of the Illinois Department of Transportation.
I think that the recollections of control of the municipality comes from the Allneck plan, which was a plan that, in conjunction with a plan from the IDOT, was submitted to the Federal Aviation Administration to consider in the approval process of the South Suburban Airport. The FAA refused to take two proposals, and they sent them back to the state of Illinois and directed the state of Illinois to refine their plan and resubmit a plan. And it's my understanding that the master plan is under ongoing development. So at this point, there isn't a master plan per se, but the legislation puts the control under the Illinois Department of Transportation.
Thank you. Okay. All right, County Board Member. We'll start with County Board Member Pretzel.
Thank you. First, I just want to thank Chair Ogalla for setting the breakfast with the legislators. I enjoyed that very much. I also enjoyed spending time with each of you, especially the ones that I haven't gotten the opportunity to know up until now. So thank you for that. Second, there's just a few things that I'm hoping we can get some clarification on, or at least gain some understanding. And this courthouse is definitely on top of that list. It's obvious that we're going to be hearing from representatives on both sides of this at every meeting, and I'm just wondering what that's for. Are we going to be voting on something? It's my understanding that we've, as a board, maybe not this board, but the previous board, voted to demolish this building. Do we need to vote on that again? Are we voting on how to pay for it? At what point are we going to understand where we're at with that? And I don't understand why we're getting these proposals to develop this thing if we don't even know, how much it's going to cost, if there's a budget for it, if there's a need for it. I also would like to know, how much money is it costing the county to keep that building in its current condition each year? My understanding is you still have to heat buildings even after they've been, evacuated. Otherwise, the structure can, I don't know, this isn't my strength, but what are we on the hook for every year that we allow that thing to sit in its current form? Second, I know that we had an executive session with the negotiator for this Will County Sheriff's deputies contract. And we were instructed not to give any information to them as they call, but they're continuing to call. They want to know where this is at. And I also would like to know where that's at. Are we going to get some sort of an update on that, or will we hear more? And then last, this landfill committee has me scratching my head. We just saw that it was canceled at the last minute on Tuesday. I'm getting some questions. We had a guest speaker come that kind of got me scratching my head. I would like to know more on why that committee was dissolved at the last minute without really any notice at all. That concludes my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Butler.
Thank you. So just on the building, the courthouse building, I just think that we would like to see a thorough plan of how much it's going to cost to make this into something useful for Will County, and what is the cost of tearing it down and then making something useful out of it after we've tore it down. Because generally rehabbing is the better option. So I think that if those numbers were proposed and everyone could see those numbers, that I think this would be over. But we are responsible for making decisions for our community, and so that's the interest here. And I think that there's a good number of people on this board who feel that way. So we just want to know what all the complete numbers are so that we can say, hey, this is the fiscally responsible thing to do.
Thank you. County Board Member Freeman.
Good morning again. So I attended the Continuum of Care meeting this last week, and they gave us a paper on homelessness in our area and some thoughts on it. So I noticed there was only a couple of us at that meeting, so I brought some, and Beth is going to be scanning them and putting them in your emails. You should take a look at that. There has been some changes to who is taking over the continuum of care, and homelessness is an issue, and it is solvable, so we need to look into that. And that's all I have. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Everybody be safe and make wise life choices tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Newquist.
I'll be quick. I just want to say that I was not one of the board members. I was not on the board when we voted for demolition of the courthouse. And I don't know what the right option is at this point, but what I do know is that I don't want us to spend staff resources pursuing options that may or may not be legally viable. So I really and truly think that we have to have some kind of parameters about where we can actually go with this. And then I think it is a good idea, as Daniel was saying, to revisit, you know, the cost of demolition versus the cost of ongoing maintenance and the potential of reusing the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for any county board members before I move on to leadership. All right. Mr. Ballage.
Oh, you put it on for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm having trouble seeing today. My eyes are blurry, you know. But the ears are working. But the ears are working today, though. You know, I can't. Too bad I can't have both senses at the same time, right? But anyway, I wanted to bring up when the gentleman talked about the courthouse thing. We voted to get rid of it because we went over it for months talking about different stuff, and that courthouse is in deplorable condition and all that. But last meeting I forgot what meeting it was. I used the word carpetbagger, and I was told that that's a disrespectful term. And I just want everyone to know, I say a lot of disrespectful terms, but I grew up in an era when we used those terms and everybody understood them. And so sometimes when I'm talking, I'm trying to just talk like a normal human being instead of talking like an orator. And then you know what happens? I say terms like that. So I could have used like the definition rather than the thing, but I didn't think of it. So I used the word. But there was other words that would probably be even more politically incorrect. So I just want everyone to know that when I talk, I am politically incorrect. And I don't mean any disrespect to nobody, but that's how I talk. So that's one thing. But now these guys, they come in, and the definition of the word that I'm not going to use because I'm talking now, like really thinking about it, is that in the Civil War days, people came in from out of the small towns and they carried bags. Those were called carpet bags. And that's where the term came from. And these people that came in with the carpet bags were out to do one thing, make money off of the people in the town. Now, I've heard a lot of stuff from these guys. They called me on the phone. I said, I don't want to talk. I don't agree with you. Don't bother me. Then they go to give me one of these things over coming in. I said, don't give it. I don't want it. I don't believe in it. I'd rather tell the truth all the time, just tell you how I stand. Why do I got to fake it and say, oh, thank you, sir? You know what? It's garbage to me. Somebody else might think it's good, but I think it's bad. The next thing is, did you ever hear them say, well, we want to buy the entire land? No, they want a public-private partnership, or they want us to do something. How's that? Because they want to make money off of the county. That's what all this is about, money. Everything comes down to money. They're not worried about the use so much as how much money can they get in whatever they want to do. So I don't like that. I don't like being used. So I'm against that. And you know what? And has any one of them said, we'll buy the land, even though we can't sell it, but did anyone ever say, we'll try buying the land and the building? And then do they? No, because they don't want to do that. They want us to have skin in the game. That's what this is about, money. So if you guys want to listen to them guys, God bless you. But I think it's stupid. Wait, can I say that word, or is that politically incorrect? I don't know, but I don't care. Now I can go to what I was going to really say. It's real important. We got St. Patrick's Day coming up, and there's a bunch of Irish guys and women on this board, right? So happy St. Patrick's Day. Then we got the better St. Joseph. And as a newly formed chairman of the Will County Italian Association. I want to thank all the Italians and Polish and probably some other ethnic groups that I don't know of for celebrating St. Joseph's Day, because that's what we wear red. I forgot about wearing red or green. I just put black on, my favorite color. But you know what? It's a big deal because there's so many nationalities that are having, everyone's getting drunk on St. Patrick's Day. St. Joseph's Day, they gain 20 pounds. You know, so everybody should enjoy this stuff coming up. And then when all of it's said and done, why is it St. Joseph and St. Patrick? That has to do with the big guy upstairs. So we all got to remember that we're fortunate for all getting up this morning and coming here and listening to everything and arguing. And when we talk about issues and stuff, we got to always remember it's an issue. The person that you don't agree with, you can yell at them, scream at them, whatever, but they're probably a nice person. So you got to remember to get along with everybody, even if you don't agree with what they're telling you on one thing. Because the next day they might be on your side. You don't know. So God bless everybody and enjoy eating on St. Joseph's Day.
Thank you, sir. Jackie.
Wow. Well, the biggest carpetbagger I know is ComEd and the railroad, because they're making a ton of money off of our public property. But I'm going to try to be thoughtful, respectful, and curious, and not judgmental. These were some Irish musings that were sent to me in the mail that I received yesterday. The real point I'm trying to make is that we can't always just accept everything at face value. We do need to think things through. We do have a new board, as been discussed here earlier today, and not decide rashly, and in particular, formatically, because we followed this formula. We were told we could not use this property for anything other than public use. And despite what we heard this morning from the state's attorney, I believe all things are possible. I was raised that way. Can't, never did nothing. That was what my father always said growing up. So I do believe that our Capital Improvements Committee, Capital Improvement and IT Committee, as well as the Executive Committee, can certainly, revisit the whole thing from the very beginning and have discussions and bring forth, when we get it, the price for demolition. I said it last month, I'll say it again. I will not vote to do anything that will demolish that building until we have a complete and full plan, beginning to end. Whether it's demolishing or redoing, rehabbing, whatever it ends up being, changing the designation, but whatever, we should have a plan from beginning to end, not just, because to me the demolition is just the beginning, and we don't have an end. We have no discussion about what the end looks like. So, I guess that I will end with a poem. For it is kindness, simple human kindness, the world needs most today. Not so much talk of duty, but a gentle, kindly way. Sometimes the good are selfish and the righteous stern and cold, but the kind are always welcome, for kindness never grows old. For there is no act more potent than a gracious word or smile. 'Tis the kindly men and women who make our world worthwhile. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Chair O'Gallup.
Thank you. So we've been hearing a lot of things about the courthouse, and I'll say it again, as I said at our caucus, that we did do a thorough investigation of everything. We didn't just make this decision lightly. We looked at the needs of the county, and we determined that we could use another county building, such as this one here, because there's not even an office space for me anywhere except for in the basement. So there's a need for some growth here. I know that finance has a need for some more people as well. So there's some more growth we need, and this building is confined. So the thought back then was that we would go ahead and put a new county building on this property. That was the thought. We did look into the complete renovation of the project, of the building, that the courthouse that is there today, and we found that it was very, very costly and wasn't still going to meet the needs that we had. This was done, this was studied. I understand many of you have questions about it. We can redo it all. Every day that that building stands, it is a liability to us. The glass has been broken, and we have that liability issue hanging out over us all the time. So we didn't make that decision lightly. We made it after, as Steve said, months and months and months of meetings. Very few people in this room, except maybe Denise, was here for all those meetings, Denise and Steve and I. So we did do our due diligence. Jackie wasn't always at here because she worked full-time at the time, and she wasn't at all the meetings. So no, I would say not probably Jackie. So we did have those conversations. We did do what we felt was right, okay? This is a new group of people coming, and they would like the property. We don't know that they can have the property. We can't give them the property. They have to go through the courts to have this happen. How long will that take? I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. I really don't like the idea of breaking a trust, because a trust to me is very important, that somebody has given set an area aside for a particular purpose, and that is what we have by our law. That protects each and every one of us every day, and the trust we have in our own homes and anything else that we have and that we own. But we can't have more conversation if that's the desire of the board, and we'll have a conversation about that full leadership. In addition to that, I'd like to talk about the airport. So while that might be one of the things, when Aaron Quick, who had been hired at one time, the county was very much pressing forward for an airport in Peatone, decades ago, I can say. Soon I'll be saying centuries ago. I don't know if I'll be alive that long, but, Mark Revis will be. The youngest in the room here.
Yeah, you're right.
So the thing with that, the county had hired Aaron Quick to be the consultant for the airport. When that legislation, which was called SB 20, was passed back in the day, Aaron Quick came and gave a presentation of that legislation. So the legislation, he pointed out many, many, many issues that we should be cautious of here at the county. He talked about the vagueness of the wording in there. I believe that the sales tax goes to other places, not us. Those are all things we have to look at. So while IDOT's been running this program, it's been supported by the South Suburban mayors and managers for decades, because they believe that an airport in Peatone is going to solve all the troubles in Homewood and Flossmoor and Calumet City and Thornton and Lansing and Dixmoor and Phoenix and Harvey. I used to work in Harvey. Let me tell you guys, nothing built in Peatone will solve anything in Harvey. Nothing. The community leaders there need to do redevelopment for their communities, and it's actually shameful that they choose to not do anything but support an airport in Peatone again and again and again. Another thing that's shameful is to let the residents, so many residents, I had elderly people who would have, you guys don't know this, but elderly people had people from the state coming, knocking on the door saying, we're going to come in and inspect your home today. We're going to do an appraisal of your home. These elderly people didn't know what to do. There's the government on their doorstep. They let them in. They never came to my house, because I was not going to allow anybody from the government to come in just because they're on my doorstep saying they're going to come in. They don't have that right, and it was a shame they took advantage of these elderly people. Many people wanted to relocate, so they sold to the state. They didn't want to sell to the state. It broke their hearts to sell to the state because they were opposed to the airport, but they had grown old. I can tell you that Carol Henrik was the group before the group STAND, which has shut this airport nightmare down. She was Residents United Residents United to Retain Agriculture. Her children were 3 and 4 years old. They now are grandparents. This has been going on and on. So one sector of our Will County to be held in this hostage situation for all these years, and the politicians to keep pushing it forward and pushing it forward. I talked with Anthony DeLuca at our breakfast, and I said to him, and he goes, well, this is just to see if it's going to be, if there's an interest for it to be built or not. We already did this. The state of Illinois already did this. I think you should probably remember, you were down there as a senator, county executive. They went out for a private-public partnership to see if there was interest. There was no interest, yet the airport continues. The purchasing of land continues. The knocking down of homes continues. It doesn't end. So this isn't something that is easy and going to provide this and that. And then they're saying, well, if the airport isn't built, what will happen with it? Well, we've spent so much money, our money. The people who own the land who were kicked off their properties, people who then, some people were old and they allowed them to, you could lease this property until you die. What the heck is that? People own the land, now we're buying it from you, but you can lease it back from us until you die. That's really nice and comforting as a senior. This is what's happened. Guys, I was 25 years old when we built our house. The next year, Peatone one was the sites that was selected. Several years later, they chose Lake Calumet. I can't tell you how I felt when Lake Calumet it was like Steve Balish and Joe Van Dyne both got off my back and I was no longer carrying them. I couldn't believe it. No, that's exactly how I felt. We built our house, we didn't put sidewalks, we didn't put out of our French doors from our dining room, we didn't build a deck. And this is not just me, this is everyone out here. Everyone held back from doing things. We held back from building a pole barn. And my husband was outside on the cold ground fixing equipment because we farm. So finally we built a pole barn. We put an addition on our house. We have a patio. And now, once again, here it comes along. I'm currently 62 years old. Do the math. I know Jim is really good with math. He could give me a number right away. And it's still going on. And the politicians are still saying this should happen. Now they say it should happen because there's warehouses. There are warehouses everywhere, right? There's warehouses absolutely everywhere. I think this is ridiculous. I think us as a county, that we need to, as a county, have an opinion on this. As a board, we should look into this. Because this is something that is so negative to the people who live out there. I'll drive down a road, there were 3 or 4 houses. I knew the people in those homes. They're no longer there. One such unlucky fool sold to the state right away. They bought a house out in another part of the county, and then the Ileana was proposed to come there. So then they were hit with, now the Ileana wanted their land. So we need to think about it. Rockford Airport, O'Hare Airport, and Gary have all had expansions. And Rockford specifically and O'Hare specifically for cargo. So this is just more of, Steve calls them carpetbaggers, I gotta agree, and politicians who want votes. Because if any airport is built there, it's never gonna improve the south suburbs, which I don't think Will County is part of. People like to call Chicago Southland. I don't consider myself part of Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. I lived in Chicago. So when I moved out here, I never felt it was that. But I think it's something we need to really consider. And if there's an airport built here, we should have control. We should have input in it because it's our land. It's not anyone else's land. State owns 4,200 acres paid for with our tax dollars. Okay, in closing, I do want to say thank you all who came to the breakfast. I know that was a really nice day. It was great. I know the legislators who attended thanked us for doing this. This is something that I want to continue. I want feedback from all of you, what you thought was good about it, what could we improve about it. And a small group of us will be going down to Springfield for Lobby Day on the 28th. And my intention is we'll have small groups continue to do that, to take the issues that we have on our legislative agenda, or say certain bills that we're concerned about with the assessment of the power plants, with the wind and solar, things like that, that we all support as a group, and we want to go ahead and give them addendums so that they know and our lobbyists know to speak on our behalf to say, hey, we don't want this bill, or we do want this bill. I want us to become active so those in Springfield understand where we are as a county, what we support, what we don't support, and it's very important for us to do that. As legislative leaders, this body, all of you guys, 22 of us sitting here today, this is very important for us to do. So I look forward to working with all of you, as well as the county executive, and helping us become stronger down in Springfield so that the needs of Will County and the desires of Will County are heard down in Springfield. Because they hear a lot of people, they've got a lot of land to cover, and they need our help in this. So thank you all.
Thank you. Just a quick follow. I appreciate that history of the airport, and I want to make sure that people are aware that there was a vote, there was a resolution a few years back by the county board not to support the Peatone airport. So that is still, and when you talk to groups, that is still out there. I also want to make it very clear that as a county executive, I have maintained neutral on the airport for one reason, out of respect for our chairwoman. And I don't know if that's been reciprocated, but I want everyone to be clear that if you talk to those groups, those people will say that the county executive is neutral on that. So just so everyone is aware of that. But with that, we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mitchell, seconded by Trenier. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion